Get ready and strap in for the One Love HTX show, where all our conversations are always raw, unfiltered, and never staged. We can also be found on Instagram, all major streaming platforms, and westcliff.org. Check us out at 1LoveHTX.org for more info or ways to support the show. Now get ready to dive into conversations you won't always have in church with your hosts, Joshua Duffy and Daniel Salsi.
Welcome to another episode of 1LoveHTX, Westcliff Climb and Pilgrim Church all together in a house. Loving it. Wait, that's a McDonald's thing.
Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba.
Having a good time. Episode 71, Season 3. We are here. Hey, I can see it on the video if you're watching on video. You can see my beard has been hacked. I had a little problem this morning. I went to go, and
It's so hard to do.
No. See how low it is?
Yeah.
I laugh at so many guys that come out of the bathroom and they're like, oh my gosh, the stupid clipper. And I'm always like, aha. It happened to me this morning. I went up and I went, oh. I went, what just happened? Where did my beard go? So now I have this massive goatee and a little tiny fuzzy beard. But with me, it only takes a day.
It looks edgy.
It looks edgy.
And then with the lights behind you right now, it's just kind of a starry image right now. Kind of a...
We were in Hawaii last year, and I went to go snorkel, and I realized with a mustache, you can't snorkel without drowning.
Oh.
No seal.
Okay.
So I went back to the hotel room, and I shaved off just my mustache completely and left all this, and my daughters were calling me Wolverine. Anyways. We always digress.
You said shaved off your mustache, but you only shaved this?
Yeah, I just shaved the top of the mustache and left all this. So it was kind of Wolverine-ish.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I looked cool while I was snorkeling. The fish were scared.
See, one of these days when we get the sound effects thing, that's where you have like the lion, like the cat.
That'd be great. All right, we are back and having a good time in here. Everyone's getting healthy, well, mostly me. And we're going to have a good time. So today, Penny for Your Thoughts is the title. And this is, I'm about to say this is about tithing, but it's not what you think. This has been a conversation that's been popping up. And we've talked randomly, little bits and pieces through the seasons. But this one came up in a big conversation with multiple people. I'm not going to give away any names. But never do.
We should have their names just scrolling, like where they live.
Yeah, right. But it continued through the week, as I started asking people questions. It's like, wow, this is an interesting topic further than just, the basic. How much do you tithe? I mean, what is 10%? What does it actually come from? The question that arose from this one, I really want to get your thoughts on this, was in the group was, do you think if you tithe, and we'll get to in a second, like, what exactly is tithing and what does it mean? But if you tithe, those of you that understand it fully, do you feel like you get more blessed? And I will say the majority of the people in the group raised their hand and said yes. And others were just kind of, I guess, thinking about the whole question. And I'm over there shaking my head no. And I'll explain to you why I'm shaking my head no. It's actually a if you're seeing me, it's a no and a yes. So it's kind of like a this. It's all over the place. But
so it's a bobblehead.
It's a bobblehead. Yeah. I was like, so, but it was an interesting question. It was like, I never. That was actually my problem back in the day. I remember when we were living in California and we were kind of coming back to the church. Lynette had found a church in Huntington Beach, which was really cool. And, guys coming off surfboards and changing out of their wetsuits in the parking lot. And there were some pro BMX riders there and everything. And it was a really cool vibe. And I was like, okay, I can do this. And then the pastor was talking about tithing. And of course, I just wasn't in a good place yet. And as I thought about it, I was like, man, I'm a sinner. Like I'm the worst of the worst.
Yeah. I'm not affirming that you're the worst. I'm just sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm tracking. Sorry.
Right. So,
you are terrible.
Right. But when he was talking about it, the first thing that hit me was, man, I don't really want to do this because my heart's not there and I don't want to get struck by lightning. That's the truth. I'm just being transparent. I was like, if I give,
I love you, man.
Right. So, but the way I was taught for so many years is that if you give, you get. If you give, you get. And I was like, man, I'm really just not there. And if I'm just giving, I just feel like that's wrong in my head. So I don't want my intention and my heart to be, all right, I'm not even really following you, but I'm going to give so I can get, buddy. So I was just like, we ain't doing it. We're not touching it. And it wasn't until a while that Lynette and I started talking, and she was explaining some things about it. And I was listening to this pastor, and I was like, well, that makes a little more sense. Like, we're given because truly our heart wants to, and what is it going to? And I started learning that. But at that moment, I remember telling my wife, I was like, we can't afford to give 10%. We live in California. There's just no way. I negotiated my salary wrong coming out here. This is just a dumpster fire. I don't know how we're going to make it past this. That was a Duffy, by the way, a Duffyism, a dumpster fire. So I said, I tell you what, we're not going to give 10%, and we're not going to give 5% because we can't do that either. So we're going to give 2.5%. And my point was, really, I know you're looking at me like,
no,
I wanted to give something, but I also wanted to prove a point to my wife. Okay, here's my heart. We can't do this. We live in California. Even 2.5% is going to hurt us.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So we gave 2.5%. I'll come back to that story in a bit. What are your thoughts on are you blessed?
So can I hit you with a pet peeve before we do this?
Yeah,
I'm running the risk on this one pet peeve
I love
of
pet
driving the whole car off the bridge before we even get a chance to go down the road. I would say this in terms of, because we started this framed with a church, right?
Yeah.
I do think this. They're very personal aspects to human beings. And one of those very personal aspects to their life is their finances. Mm-hmm. And I'm not a huge fan when I feel like there are churches that will not discuss the full gamut of uncomfortable topics, but have no problem talking about what you should give. So that's a thing for me.
It's a good pet peeve.
It's like if you're like, oh, we don't shy away from telling people to tithe. The cynical part of me is like, yeah, but you don't touch this topic, this topic, this topic, or this topic. Mm-hmm. So how convenient. I'm just this is where I'm like a part of the system and the man, right. And yet I want to stick it to the man at the same time. Right. I struggle with this. So I think this topic, number one, if you're in a church, a good checklist is, if that makes you feel uncomfortable, even hearing a pastor go there, I'm actually fine with that. It's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
But in the course of an entire year, there should be several topics, especially in the era we live in, where you should be like, wow, I can't believe we're going there. I think sometimes I've noticed churches that will bypass everything that's happening that grieves the heart of God, mm-hmm. or things that will make a church less fashion forward in 2024, but they still have no problem talking to you about why you need to give them your money.
Right.
That's
a really good point.
I just want to point that out.
That's going to be a topic for next.
So there it is. I see your nuke, sir, and I raise you one. Because I've had pastors who are like, yeah, we don't go there. We don't go there. But I tell you what, when it's about your money, we don't shy away from that. And I'm like, I wonder why that is.
Which is probably one of the most uncomfortable conversations for the majority of people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's a good point.
Like if you're going to go into my wallet, but you're not going to go to all these other places in my life, that's strange to me. I'm just, okay.
I love it.
See?
That's good.
Ba 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 ba. So what do I think? All right. Well, I almost parallel this one with honor your father and mother.
Hmm.
Because I know there's a lot of people out there, they can't stand their father and or their mother. And they probably have really good grounds for not honoring their father and their mother, you know. And it's weird because that's a commandment that has a promise attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you'll live long and da 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 da. It's the only commandment that's like, look, that kind of insinuates like flat out, really, like I'm watching. You're being obedient to this. I got you. Like there's a little bit of a win in here for you in honoring. It doesn't mean like,
right?
It doesn't even necessarily mean love. Actually, it's just like honoring your father and mother. If you've ever go back to 10 Commandments, it's the only one that has a promise. And I think the first thing that needs to be understood, in my view, is Jesus talks a lot about money, in part because it has a power unlike anything else. And it has the power to, in effect, replace God. A faux God, but if you think about it, people think about the things that we find in money. We find security,
Mm-hmm.
comfort, sustenance, provision, identity, status, worth, value, hope, and use those same words, adjectives, and that's supposed to be him. So I think like it has a unique power because it can make us put our trust and our hope into something that's not him.
Right.
I think that's one reason why God presses on that button with money, is it has a unique power to challenge everything about who we are and who we're supposed to be in him.
And is one of the most incorrectly used verses, which is,
oh yeah,
I see all the time a post that says, money is the root of all evil. It's like, wait, you forgot it's the love.
Yeah.
Which is like what you're saying.
Exactly.
What are we replace? Are we the love of God or the love of money? The
Yeah.
love of money is the root of all evil.
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead.
So like, I would say not always, but I would say in the grand scheme of my life, my wife, we have faithfully tithed. But I would be the person who at times was legalistic about tithing, as weird as that sounds. Like, we only have $700 left. But the tithe off of this gift while we're at the seminary was, whatever it was, the way the math worked out, the bill to pay for my seminary education that month was $6,300. Someone sent in a gift of $7,000. And if I tithe off of the $7,000, I only have $700 left. And I have zero money in the account. And I would be the one that was like, hell or high water. And I had a few times taken us literally to like, well, I don't know what we're going to do tomorrow. Now,
a penny for your thoughts.
Literally a penny. Now, but here's the thing is, and then I think this is where my wife was a gift in all of this. And I had pastors who were loved me well, because I would then experience the other thing. So I made it a legalistic thing.
Mm-hmm.
And there were just times where I forgot. Just forgot.
Yeah.
And then what am I feeling is something I was never meant to feel or experience with what that is, which is a promise. Like, hey, and you've already touched on it. We're like, hey, if you give, I know the power of money in your life, God is saying. And I got you. Like, I'm going to open up the floodgates of heaven, but I got you. Well, flip it. There were times that I forgot to tithe, okay? And I had to take a step back and go, I have a God of grace. I have now made something a law or legalistic that's meant to be a heart thing. Mm-hmm. And I had to get to a place where sometimes where it's like, any number of situations that hit us where I had to accept, like, okay, like I didn't tithe.
Right.
And I'm either going to sit in self-judgment, self-loathing. Okay, all right, you didn't do it. But the heart of it isn't do this or else. It's an invitation to do this, and I gotcha. Like, I'm going to meet your needs. And I think where we get in trouble, and I'm trying to put myself up there, shamelessly, of not always being the best example of it. On one hand, on the outside, I was faithful. And there's times where I have tithed and I was faithful. There were other times where I tithed out of legalism.
And the flip side of legalism is you will fall. We all fall. And then now you've lost the whole heart of what that's supposed to be, which is rooted in promise. A promise isn't about legalism. Promise is relationship and this adventure with me, and I got you kind of thing. I'm going to see you through. So I don't know. Is that?
No, that's good. I think that's solid. And that's kind of where I was going with this, because going back to the story, doing the 2.5%, because there was a part, like, if we had to split it into pie.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
There's like 50% was saying, I like this church. I like what they're doing. I understand why we tithe now. It's not just because the church wants my money. It's because they're doing good things. And if I believe in what they're doing, I want to be a part of that. And I want to help them out. And then the other half was, but we can't do it. So I want to prove to my wife that we can't do it, even though we want to do it.
Yeah.
You know, so let's just 50-50 here. Let's just throw it out there.
So you're like me. You're already in the ditch. And this is why we do a podcast together.
So 50-50.
I don't care if we can't afford food. We tithe.
Right.
And you're over there going, we can't afford food now. Right. You know, there it is.
So the 50-50 pie turns into actually 2.5. Or 25%.
I love it.
So we give the 2.5 of the 10%, and our bills come in, and like it's not what I expected. Like everything's better than it should be. And I couldn't do the whole see to my wife.
Booyah.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, that was weird. I go, well, it's just a fluke. Let me really show you how we're going to suffer this next month, and we're going to go 5%.
You're awesome. I love some of your stories, man, are just absolute gold. Oh, my gosh.
Needless to say, we went 5%, and the same thing happened. It was just like, I don't get it. I don't get it. So
you doubled down, didn't you?
So we doubled down. We went full send, and we've gone full send ever since. And then some. I mean, I'm not bragging here, and I don't say this too often, but since we're on this topic, I think it's a perfect story for it. That's where I finally gotten it. And I heard a guy talk about this. He's like, I really don't even. It's not even a money thing to me. It's just a joy thing.
Yeah.
And that's what it's become in our lives. I realize that I don't have any of it because of me, you know.
Yeah.
It doesn't even belong to me.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a place that I had to get to in my life, that I have it because he blesses me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then there's some people that go, well, why does he bless me? I'm like, I don't know the answer to these things. I just know that it doesn't belong to me. And if I have it, I joyfully want to give it, and that's where I want to be. So, and there's been crazy stories. I mean, a prime example, just not too long ago. I mean, most people have heard that we even talked about in a podcast. My wife went through a surgery that we didn't have insurance for, and I'm going to tell you right now, this is one of those angel moments. I don't know how that bill was paid off. I really don't. I didn't. I'm trying to go through the numbers and everything, but it's done. It's all done. And I'm like, I didn't. And I got to the point where I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to try to figure this out.
Wow.
I'm not going to try to dig. But this thing got paid off really fast, and it doesn't make any sense to me. But I'm going to receive it, and it's you, Father.
Wow.
I just don't get it, and I'm okay with that. So going back to the whole thing and why I bobbled my head with a yes and no.
Yeah.
Is this is what I came to, and maybe this is kind of what you're saying too. It's just who our Father is.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
And the way I equated it, and the reason why I bobbled my head at it is, I don't think because I decide to give 10% or tithe or whatever it is, even 5%, wherever my heart says, because He just wants the heart. We've talked about that over and over again, right?
Yeah.
I don't think God then goes, oh, look at you, Josh. You're tithing. So today, what do I have in behind door number 1 for you? Because you did that. I don't think that exists. I don't think He says, I think here's my weird random story to equate this is, my wife is a crazy nature nut. Like, she loves nature like nobody's business. She is enthralled with what she sees and wants to watch these nature channels. And when we go on vacation, she's seeing things that I didn't even catch, and the intricacies of just creation. And for a long time in our relationship, I was always like, calm down. Like, it's not that cool. You're like, let's go surf. But now I'm starting to get it, and I'm seeing that. And because I didn't want it before, doesn't mean that it didn't exist.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't because I finally heard my wife talk about all this nature and try to point things out. It wasn't because I finally go, okay, I'm going to listen to my wife, that God goes, oh, now you're going to listen, so I'm going to show you something even cooler.
Yeah, yeah.
It was always there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's the way I equate it to tithing is that joy, that blessing, what naturally comes out of that has always been there.
Yeah.
It's not a door number one, door number two, door number three. It is just you walked into it. Yeah. You didn't miss it. You didn't miss the beauty of it.
Yeah. Well,
does that make sense?
Can I add this to it?
Yeah.
Like, part of what you're describing, and maybe some of our listeners, is like, God isn't a God to be manipulated or bargained with. Yeah. And 2,000 years ago, like the Roman Empire, the way they would have seen their gods, you do kind of, well, if I do this, I can get this. Oh, we need to appease this God this way.
Right.
Oh, if we use this name, and if we lift up this incense, or we do whatever, we make this sacrifice. Well, then this is an exchange. Mm-hmm. And part of what you're saying is, no, it's not.
Yeah.
The Pharisees, they would have tithed all the way down to like their spice rack. Like above and beyond. That's why everyone looked at them as like, these cats are just next level. Everything is tithed on. They're next level, right? Well, Jesus doesn't go, you know what? The fact that your heart is absolutely atrocious. You do tithe. So like what happened there is he tells them, no. Your heart, you're following the law, right? You're all about your traditions for the sake of the law, or you follow the law for all the wrong reasons. Mm-hmm. You insult God in following the law that he gave you.
Right. So
like the point being, it's heart and relationship. I think one of the really interesting story to me is this moment where, there's the famous, give to Caesar what is Caesar, give to God what is God. And we think about that sometimes about, is that paying taxes or what have you? But what's really interesting that happens in that moment is the Pharisees have coins in their pocket that have Caesar's face on it. Right. Okay? And so while they're trying to question him about what to do with money, he already knows what they got on him. And he's like, is there anything in your pocket? I mean, I'm just guessing right now.
You got a quarter.
Yeah. And they and they pull out these coins. What are the coins that have an inscription that basically say in Greek, like he is a son of God. He's a God. Mm. Now, the reason they do the temple exchange and stuff and take people's currency is basically like they're walking around with little idols in their pocket. They're violating their own code of existence by even having that money on them in that moment. So he's like, whoa. I'm sorry, I can't help but notice the hypocrisy of this moment, right? And then he's like, listen, give to Caesar what is Caesar, give to God what is God's. And what he's saying is, number one, Caesar isn't God.
Right.
I get the coin says he is.
Right.
Give Caesar back his little piece of metal with his face on it.
Right.
How cute. And give to God what is God's. And what he's saying with this discussion is, God is the giver of all things, including this petty discussion right now about money. I give everything. And I think that's also what I think you started out with that's really stellar, is we can just forget that every door that's been opened to us, every opportunity we've ever had, our innate, maybe our drive, our focus, our intelligence. Some people can read something once and they remember it forever. I got to read it 18 times to remember it, kind of. Other people have these incredible memories and skills, gifts, and abilities. All of that's from God. Mm-hmm. This one chance meeting that happened, that's from God. That door that opened up for you and that move that you made that you thought that you were just lucky and it worked out, that was from God. That raise, that was from, so it's repositioning all of that to go, oh, that's,
yeah,
including the money.
Yeah. Wow. That's good. I'm sorry, my brain's like going on that one because it's as you're saying that all those blessings that we call blessings, it's even further than that. Everything from God is even sometimes that we don't see the bad moments. The girlfriend that didn't make it with us. And I
his hand is over all of it.
Yeah, and it's just like I remember having that prayer. If you just save our relationship, I'll follow you. And later I'm like, thank you for not saving that relationship. But yeah, it's everything. And with that too, I think we equate tithing to money always, because kind of what you said in the beginning, it's the most uncomfortable conversation that we have in church and the one that everyone complains about the most. But if we can look at it differently and say, do you love the place you're at? Do you love what they're doing? I mean, we get it with, veteran stuff. I see that all the time. Oh, we're giving to a veterans thing because, I want to take care of the veterans. I want to take care of, the breast cancer awareness, whatever it is, because you love that. You're connected to it in some way. It's the same thing with the church. So if you're having a problem, and that's what I had to look at. If I have a problem giving to my church, well, then do I have a problem with the church? And if I don't, then I need to ask God, check my heart and help me kind of walk through this. But it's also beyond money, right? I mean, it's time.
Yeah.
In ministries and helping and the things where God's working. That's another way that I hear a lot. And then a lot of people struggle too. The other part of the conversation was, well, I don't want to just give my money to one place. And I'm like, okay. I mean, it's like, how do you want to give it? It's the heart, really. And if you feel led to do it, do good with it, because it's all His. Yeah. Do good with it. Now, if you're tithing because I'm tithing to my piggy bank to get my Ferrari, that's there it is. There it is.
Well, there's an individual I'm thinking of right now where I don't know how consistent or not consistent. Because frankly, I try really never to know. Yeah. But I would tend to believe, based on some anecdotal evidence of maybe some interactions we've had, that side of the financial giving is not so much what he does. However, if anything has ever been broken on this campus, anything is, right on after a storm, any maintenance, he does it all for free. Wow. And if you do pen to paper, it's tens of thousands of dollars. Wow. That a place like my church is not paying someone else to come out and do it. Mm-hmm. And full-time job, full-time life, hustling hard. Right. Something happens, this cat's been up here 2 a.m. Wow. So, per your point, beautiful. And like bottom line, if it's meant to be a blessing to the church to be able to carry out the ministry that God has given, if I were to add up those receipts and if I were to be, just look into it, we save, I don't know what that even accounts to. It's tens of thousands of dollars. Yeah. And that's his talent that he has. Yeah. And he's freely giving of his talent, never asked for a dime, doesn't want a dime. So.
Talent. You just said something.
Yeah.
Talent. So in the Bible, okay, this is probably a topic for off air, but
I can see the wheels. I know where you're going.
When it talks about talents in the Bible, is that talents of money? Was that a name for?
Yeah, it was a currency.
Oh, okay.
But we can go there next time. This is awesome.
Whenever I hear things, sometimes I'm like, but did I miss that? That actually happened to me in tithing. Is I remember when we finally got there through California, and we did years and years and years of okay, we're like, this is cool. Like, it's just like, again, I negotiated my salary wrong.
Well, and I think, but here's the tension, and I think you've landed on it really well in your story. You don't want to approach it like this is an exchange to manipulate God.
Exactly.
And so I'll put a period there. But per your story, lots of people I know, and even I've seen it in my own life, I don't know what to do with the reality that every person I know who does this has said the exact same thing. Yeah. That it has come back to them X-fold. Right. They did not do it for that reason. They weren't hoping for the upgrade in life. But I think that's the beauty of the tension that we're talking about, is like there is the right heart at the exact same time. Your story, there's 3 or 4 other people that come to mind right now who will tell you, I can't explain it. I just trusted God. My business exploded. I do not think that's a happenstance thing. And I've heard that story over and over and over again. So there's
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I'll go a step further. That started in 1998. So fast forward to 2014, and we were joyfully giving. It doesn't mean that everything is, perfect, that I'm living in, rolling around in money. There are times I'm like, wow, like this has been a great year. And there are other times, 2014, I remember we paid every single one of our bills. We had some medical stuff that was going on, and I remember walking out to Lynette and saying, everything's paid. And guess what we have in our account? And she was like, what? And I was like, 95 cents. And I was smiling. And that was unlike me, because there was a time in my life where I would freak out if we had to go buy another loaf of bread.
Yeah.
Because, and the more and more I put that faith and that trust, and knowing again, it's not mine.
Yeah.
He's got me. Like you said, he's got me. And I just had this, she goes, why do you have a smile on your face? And I go, because I know it's going to be okay. Everything's paid, Lynette. We got 95 cents and it's cool. I know it's going to be okay.
That's a great
And it
story.
was. So we still have some downtimes, but I can't look back and say any place that I made a stupid choice for it. It's just been good. That's just
Wow.
who he is.
Wow.
So been rough times, but we've always survived. So anyways, so that's kind of the whole, I guess.
That was great.
Yeah, you're going to have to deep dive on this a little bit more, because I think there's a whole lot more that people had questions about, what is proper tithing, what even further into beyond just financial and all that kind of stuff, and what does the Bible actually say about it, from 10% to the heart to whatever, what is all those things. So, but that's an overview.
You've been overviewed.
You've been overviewed. Yeah. So it's a whole lot more than financial, for sure. And what comes from it, just the joy when your heart gets there is really cool. So with that,
I think you need to pray us on that. Crazy stories.
It's been fun. It's been fun. So thanks for joining us. Penny for your thoughts. Father God, we thank you. And we're so grateful that we know in our hearts that you supply everything. And Father, I just pray for anyone right now who's listening that struggles with that thought, and is even having physical, financial struggles in their life. Father, this isn't one of those prayers that we ask for just more or prosperity prayers. Father, you are the giver of all, and I just pray for anyone right now who's struggling, that you would calm their heart, give them a peace. And just let them see you, experience you. Father, thank you that you are so giving. You're the greatest Father that has ever lived, that has ever been around. Anything. You are the prime example of that. And Lord, I just pray over our lives, every single one of us, to see you more, to experience you more, to love you more, and just come alongside of you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
See you guys.
See ya.